And you may be wondering, how can I be friends with someone like this? And I have only one reply for you. I am not a snob. On February 7th, 2017, my second novel, Pachinko, was published by Grand Central, an imprint of Hachette Book Group. And they're here tonight, and I want to thank them for supporting my work and our story. When the book came out, my brilliant agent, Suzanne Gluck, who's also here, gave me some advice regarding book promotion and the book tour. She said, don't come home. Stay on the road. So more or less, for the past 3 years, when I wasn't researching, writing, or teaching, I was on the road. I did not come home. And consequently, I have done several hundred public events around the world. My family's not clapping. A book tour is a very weird thing. And it is especially strange for an introvert who routinely experiences both profound shame and a fear of failure. And at each public event, I worry about disappointing my publisher, my editor, my publicist, my agent, my friends, my family, and every single Korean in the world. I'm in therapy. I suffer from an absurd affliction of insecurity and grandiosity in equal measure, framed by a thick layer of personal shame. And somehow, I believe that my efforts are just not enough. So I work and I work. I'm also really emotional. So at public events, when I'm moved, I cry. And any of you who have been to some of my events have seen me lose my very thin veneer of composure. Who shows up? Who shows up to my public events? Well, I've had events as few as 2 people in my audience, one of whom was my husband's cousin. No, this is true. It happened in Madison, Wisconsin. I'm still not over it. And I have spoken to audiences in places like Buffalo and Sydney, Australia, which have numbered in the thousands. And as an author, I am very fortunate enough to know who reads my books, because I have many of my readers. And in general, the overwhelming majority of the folks, the overwhelming majority of the people who have read my books are actually not Korean. In this past year, I did a sold-out event at Carnegie Hall in Pittsburgh, which seats 1,900 people, and about 50 were Asian American. I'm telling you this for a weird reason. In Maine, an elderly white man came up to me after an event, after reading Free Food for Millionaires. And he told me, I am Casey Han, the daughter of Korean immigrants who run a dry cleaning business. Readers from Iran and Afghanistan and Germany have told me that Pachinko is their story. It's both humbling and deeply gratifying. And that said, since I have decided, not that anyone has asked me, but I have decided that it's my personal mission to humanize Koreans through literature. I think it's not necessarily a bad thing if non-Koreans can believe that our stories can be their stories. So as you know, I write about Koreans, and I write fiction that is heavily researched. I read an inordinate amount of scholarship and do a lot of field work, and this might be a way of avoiding writing, or it might be a way for me to feel more confident in my work. Either way, I have now interviewed thousands of Koreans around the world, so I can report with great authority that we are infinitely diverse and a very complex people. Having said that, lately I have been seeing a little change in my events. More and more Koreans are coming to my events. So I thought I would tell you about the two types of Koreans who have made a very lasting impression on me every time they show up. Now, the first type of Korean who shows up is usually a baby boomer, Korean American man. And he is a first generation, very scholarly type of person. And he will be sitting in the first or second row. His arms will be folded like this. And he is usually wearing a vest because Koreans like vests. And while I'm reading from my book or having a conversation with a moderator, I will notice this man and he will be studying me like I am a bacterial specimen on a slide. And by the way, I am always nervous speaking in public. I am terrified right now. But under his watchful gaze, I am a fucking wreck. Then after the event, this gentleman will march up to me and he will wave a well-thumbed copy of Pachinko or Free Food for Millionaires. And he will say, "I didn't buy this." And I shrug, feeling the full measure of shame at having written a book that he doesn't think is worth buying. My American patient gave it to me. She told me I had to read it. And I nod because I don't know what else to do. "I read it," he'll say. And I hang my head. "I came tonight because I wanted to see who you are. I'm very busy. I don't normally have time to go to bookstore readings." And I look up. And then it occurs to me that this man reminds me of my grandfather, who died when I was 20. So in my mind, I stop being 51 years old, and then I become somebody much younger. And I find myself bowing a little bit, like I'm a college student, and I say, "Thank you for coming. Would you like me to sign your book?" And he'll say, That's Korean for yes.
Smoke weed every day.